I request Dr. Bharat, President for Rotary Club of GCT Coimbatore, to present the welcome address.
Very good evening to one and all gathered here. First of all, I would like to welcome the speaker of this session, Dr. Meenu Agarwal. Thank you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation for this session.
Thank you, Bharat. Thank you, all your team members, all the members of Rotary Club for inviting me for today's session. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome, ma'am. Then I would like to welcome the Rotractors of Rotary Club of GCT Coimbatore. Then I would like to welcome the participants who are gathered here to attend this session. Hope you will get something useful from this session. Over to the MC.
Thank you, Bharat. I now invite Rotractors Neha to give a brief introduction about our trainer of today.
Hello everyone. I'm so glad to welcome the trainer of the session, Dr. Meenu Agarwal. She is a clinical dietitian in private practice in Singapore and advises clients globally on health and nutrition. She holds a master's degree in dietetics and food service management. She served more than 20.
Sorry, you are not audible. Would you like to continue?
She holds a master's degree in dietetics and food service management. She served more than 2,000 clients in worldwide. She is the nutrition expert on online parenting magazine called Parent Circle and also Bella. I welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rotractors Neha. I now request Rotractor Bharat, President for Rotary Club of GCT Coimbatore for year 2021, to hand over the proceedings to the trainer of today's session.
I hereby hand over the proceedings to trainer Dr. Meenu Agarwal, ma'am. Ma'am, you can start your session.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending today's session. I'm so glad to see the participants are here. I will start today's session by sharing a PowerPoint presentation and I will walk through it. So let me just see this. Okay. Can you all see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the first thing which begins for today's session is we need to understand that when it's all about a health talk, living healthy, eating healthy. So the first foremost slide, if you can see here, says correct lifestyle leads to great health. So if we follow a correct lifestyle, we don't need to bother too much about our health. But what is correct lifestyle? The question is, what is correct lifestyle? Is it only about eating food or is it only about doing exercise? So my answer is 4 pillars are very important. One is, yes, it is correct food, eating the right food in the right manner, doing regular exercise. Third, sleeping on time. We often forget the importance of sleep. And the 4th pillar of our good health is keeping stress levels at the minimum possible. So correct lifestyle actually is the combination of these 4 pillars. If we can balance these 4 things in our life, trust me, no need to bother, no need to worry about health too much. So what are our current lifestyle habit or the lifestyle practice which actually leads to improper health elements in our body? What are the common mistakes? As you youngsters are here in today's forum, I would like to share this screen because a few people are here. At youth, we hardly bother about what disease is, what diabetes is going to do, or what heart disease is going to do. Let's enjoy life to our fullest. But remember, poor hydration, irregular meal timings, too much or too less food intake, which often happen when some people who they really don't worry about, or they really don't care about how much they are eating. If it is a food time, if they are feeling hungry, they will just eat food. They will not even want to notice how much food is needed by their body. They will just keep on stuffing the body with food. So that food can be too much for their need of that day, but yet they don't mind to eat more, and then they may pop in some antacid to get some relief. But there is other category in youngsters which is also very clearly noticed, that they are very conscious and they start eating too less with the sake of just keeping themselves in a nice shape or a weight zone. They will they will start eating too less. So remember, eating too much or eating too less food can also be a culprit. Next pointer is poor selection of food. Sometimes you are hungry and unmindfully or not paying too much attention, you just buy or you just eat whatever is available next door. I will be covering some few things about this so that we understand where small mistake we do while selecting the food and what we should be doing instead. Apart from this food selection or portion of food, irregular sleep time also impacts on our health to a greater extent. Yes, sleep is the time when we sleep sound, all our body's wear and tear, healing takes place. And if we don't fix sleep timing, if we are keeping awake till late night for late hours, this mechanism of healing of our body is hampered. Along with sleep, inadequate exercise, yes. If we are eating every day, we are sleeping every day, we need to understand exercise is also mandatory every day. If not every day, at least 6 days a week is a must. On top of this, these days I'm noticing people do breathe, but they do shallow breathing. Deep breathing has become an art now. People learn to deep breathe, which means we have become, as a mankind, as a human, we have forgotten the art of deep breathing. We just shallow breathe in and out. Shallow breathing also results in improper health. And the next element is impatience, especially seen in the youth. We want to achieve the in a very short span of time. We don't wait for the turn. Impatience, we don't see, we don't wait, we don't have time, we don't have the patience to see good results, because good result of hard work takes some time. We want quick fix, immediate solution, and for that, those quick fixes, we start opting some improper food habits, some improper dietary advice, and which can actually lead into poor health in long run. And the last but not least is work-life imbalance. Most of us are suffering with whatever ages we are with work-life imbalance. Either we are running short of time, or we are working too long hours. I don't know what the problem is, but yes, there is some imbalance which we as human need to fix. We as individual need to fix to see some improvement in our overall health. We certainly cannot give excuse that I have no time from work and I have to do long hours, night shifts, long hour working hours. It's okay. Some people may be working night shifts, some may be working day shifts, but figure out your 45 minutes for exercise and figure out, allocate your hours of sleep. You certainly cannot give excuse on these two elements. So what are the leading health issues? What are the current leading health issues which our generation is facing, or in fact, I would say my next generation, you guys are facing? The leading issues are stress, obesity, hypertension, acidity, diabetes, cholesterol. Why I have only written the 6 elements? Because these are the elements irrespective of which age group you are in, it is seen. Even diabetes, I'm seeing in 18 years old guys, which is not type 1, it is type 2. Just a lifestyle disorder which has taken place in the form of diabetes type 2. So I have added diabetes here. Otherwise, all other factors are very commonly seen in youngsters. Let's start with the weight management first. Few things we need to understand. Weight management, or losing weight or maintaining a healthy weight zone, is a continuous journey. It's a lifetime project. It's not a short span goal that you will do some fancy diet, you will do some ketogenic diet, or you will do some Atkins diets or cabbage diet, water diet, and lose a number of kilos and achieve a nice number on scale. Trust me, if you follow all those fancy diet, it is going to give you a nice number, but that's not sustainable. And if you keep doing this, your weight will go down and come back, go down and come back. It's a yo-yo which keeps going in and out. And if you repeatedly keep doing these things, unfortunately, you will fall into a trap of some health issues, so which are absolutely not advisable. Remember, weight management is a continuous lifetime project. Why I'm saying lifetime project? Because once you lose weight, also it means that you need to sustain, to maintain that lost weight. And for that also you need to adapt and continue practicing your healthy eating habit. If you think some special diet, some fancy diet, which may help you reducing weight, but you cannot maintain that for lifelong, it means that's not healthy diet for you. Just leave it. Try to adapt, try to imply certain permutation and combination in your daily diet and lifestyle overall, so that gradually you start seeing a weight loss or achievement of a healthy weight zone. It is both ways. Losing weight, gaining healthy weight, because some are underweight, some are overweight, but although overweight is more nowadays. So whichever ways it is doable both ways. Short-term rapid weight loss diet usually fail in the long run. Remember this. This actually is true. And people often do this. Okay, I did that couple of years back. I will again do so that I'll get the desired result. But remember, you are aging every day. So the thing which you have done in past, you may do now, which may not work now or which may not work in future. Try to do something which will help you losing gradually and to maintain that weight for lifelong. And that is only possible when that change becomes your lifestyle forever. So don't adapt, don't switch to something which is very, very aggressive or very rapid. Rather choose something which is slow and steady and which is sustainable and doable. What is the key for this kind of lifestyle changes? Reduce the calorie you consume. What is the key? What is the mantra of weight management or weight loss? Suppose I'm talking about weight loss now, because that's a major problem in the today's generation being seen. You need to create a calorie deficit, which means the calorie which our body is burning with our day-to-day activity and our sleep level also, which we call BMR, plus whatever exercise we do. So that is the amount of calorie we burn. And the food which we eat gives us calorie intake. If there is a deficit, like if the calorie burn is more than the total amount of calorie we eat, then there is a deficit which is created. If we can create this deficit between the amount of calorie intake and the calorie burn, we will see weight loss. If amount of calorie intake is more than the amount of calorie burn, we will start seeing weight gain. And if we balance equally, like the amount of calories we are eating and amount of calories we are burning, it is not changing our weight at all. So what we can do, if we are looking for weight loss, we need to reduce some calories, and this reduction in calories should always be focused from unhealthy food or calorie dense food like fried foods, refined foods, which are high calorie dense food. And alongside what we can do, we can increase the level of exercise a bit. So reduction in calories and increasing in physical exercise. If we can work out little more, that will also help us burning little more calories. So that's a healthy way of balancing our calorie input and output. Now, most of the time I come across people who even doesn't know which frame of the body they are into, which side of the BMI they are into, whether they fall in a high overweight category or not. Sometimes people often say, I am very fit as compared to rest of my family members of my friend circle. But remember, the comparison parameter should be correct for you to actually know whether you lie in the right BMI zone or not. So a simple index I have shared here, body mass index, which is just a ratio of your body weight in kilograms divided by your height in meter square. BMI for Asians or Indians If it is below 18.5, it is considered as underweight. So this is the same parameter for whole globe, for everybody on the universe. 18.5 or below is considered as underweight. But for Asians, there are two things which is little different from rest of the world, which is normal weight zone and overweight zone. So for us, a BMI of 18.5 till 22.9 is considered as normal weight zone, whereas for the rest of the world, for Caucasians or Westerns, it is 18.5 till 24.9. For Indians or Asian specific, a BMI of 23 or more is considered as overweight. A BMI of 23 till 24.9 is considered as pre-obese, and a BMI of 25 or more is called obesity, grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3, so on. So if you don't know, if you're not sure whether you are overweight or in the healthy weight zone, you can just check your own weight versus your height in meters square. And you will come across the BMI ratio and check your BMI, which category you belong to. Now, often this cholesterol is a health issue which has also been seen in youngsters. And of course, as we age, this becomes a common phenomena. But the problem is most of us being Indians, we just take it for granted. Oh, cholesterol is not a big deal. It is there. It was there diagnosed in my blood report 2 years before, 2 years ago. It is still there and it doesn't bother me. Sometimes I ask my clients, so did you get your cholesterol levels checked? They say, no. I haven't seen any sign and symptom. I have not suffered with any problem. So why do I need to go for a blood test? So for those who think that you need to wait for some sign and symptom. So let me tell you, buildup of cholesterol has zero sign, zero symptom. One sign or symptom could be a heart attack or a stroke, which once set in, you cannot revive the dead cells. It becomes a progressive health issue then. So it is always advisable to get annual health test done, annual blood checkup, blood test done to check your lipid profile, which includes your total cholesterol level, LDL, which is the bad cholesterol, HDL, the good cholesterol, and triglycerides. Parameters I have shared here, the green ones are the good ones. We ideally want our parameters to be in the green zone. Borderline high are the yellow zone. And the rest, which is red zone, is the danger zone. You really need to reverse, because building up of cholesterol can gradually lead to some other health issues, which could be heart disease, which could be a fatty liver, which could be increase in some liver parameters or enzymes of liver. So there are many other complications which may actually gradually build up if your cholesterol levels are not controlled. You are prone to risk of CVD, cardiovascular disease. Now, the problem of this cholesterol in young age, why? What is the problem? Problem is our afternoon snack. I have seen in my practice time, majorly the young guys or the girls are very careful in their lunch, dinner, and breakfast. The problem arises the moment your clock strikes 4 o'clock or more. Between 4 to 6 p.m. is the sin time. Trust me and ask yourself the question, have you never faced this problem? And once you feel hungry, what do you end up eating with? Very easily available snacks like samosas, vadas, or the sweets, or some murukkus, or some chips, or some namkeens, or the fried fritters, or not some noodles. And so-called these days I'm seeing in India, it is very easily available. Hawker centers, Maggi has been sold as a snack time option, or some bhajis, or some spring rolls, or some muffins, cookies, cakes, and even dosas. Dosas, the good thing is, dosa is a very healthy food, provided it is cooked at home. The moment these dosas are bought outside, they are loaded with unhealthy calories. Firstly, oil is been used and reused. There is no limitation of how much oil has been placed on the platter of dosa while it has been cooked on the tawa. So one dosa of market can easily give you somewhere from 450 to 600 calories, which your body may not be able to digest properly or burn properly, rather more specifically. So this 4 o'clock snack is a culprit time. Why can't we think about this 4 o'clock snack beforehand? I have seen boys and girls those who are going to college or those who are going to workplaces, they pack their dabbas, they'll pack their lunch or tiffin box for the lunch time. But I've hardly seen people who are packing their snack for the afternoon snack time. Why do we forget that? It just needs few minutes pre-planning. The way you pack your dabbas, those who are health conscious, you're packing your dabbas, your lunch boxes, pack alongside a small snack. Or even if you don't pack a snack, if food is available, make some healthy choices. For us, when I consult in India, different zones, fruit never comes as a snack to them. For us, when we talk about snacks, something which is fried pops in our brain. Why is it so? A fruit can also be a very healthy snack and it is easily carryable. We can carry one whole fruit along with our lunch box. So that after lunch, when it is the time between 4 to 6 p.m. when you are hungry, whole world feels hungry. Usually everybody, we all feel hungry around 4 to 6 p.m. So why can't we open that fruit and eat it? Or we can carry always along with us some handful of nuts, could be walnuts, could be almonds, or roasted chana, which is roasted gram, or fox nuts. These are easily available. We can just roast them, add some chaat masala or some spices, whichever we like. And these are healthy munch to go. We can easily replace all these namkeens, bhujiyas and all these chips with this fox nuts. And even if it is idlis or dosas, which are available easily, go for idli. Why not? It is at least not fried. It is a steamed food, which is very healthy, provided we eat in moderation. We should not be overeating. The problem is when we eat, we don't focus how much we are eating and how fast we are eating and how we are eating actually. We also keep drinking or sipping on tea and coffee throughout the day, unmindfully, unknowingly that how many calories we are adding into our body. It's better if we can switch, if possible, we can switch this regular tea or coffee to some herbal tea or buttermilk or coconut water, which are better and healthier, or some infused water or just plain water. Keep drinking plenty of water. There is no limitation for drinking water. You can easily drink 10 to 12 glasses of water every day. And if your body needs more, you can go more on water. See, water, there is no limit. Keep drinking. And most of the time I hear this complaint also that how much water, ma'am, should we be drinking? Now remember, every individual is unique. Everyone's body is different. One person may need 8 glasses of water to keep himself well hydrated. The other person may need 12 glasses of water to keep himself or herself hydrated. This is a number which varies from person to person. I'm sharing a chart here, just have a look. Number 1, 2, and 3 are the acceptable range of hydration, which means when you go to pee, check the color of your urine. If it is in the number 1, the very, very slight pale or little bit darker or little bit yellowish, it is still fine. Number 1, 2, 3. The moment you think that it is close to yellowish, that the number 3, it means it is time for you to drink more glasses of water because your body has started becoming dehydrated. After this red line, any color if you face in your urine color, which is a severe sign of dehydration, you definitely need to drink more water. So keep drinking water, check the color of your urine and set a couple of more glasses as per your urine color is been identified. This is a number to be adjusted by every individual separately. Now, after this water dehydration problem, the common issue with this generation is acidity. Acidity has become such an issue that almost every second person is suffering with it, and some may not even know that they are suffering with acidity. So what is acidity? Acidity is when a person suffers from heartburn. Also when some gas forms in the stomach. See, what is acid? HCl or hydrochloric acid is generated in our body naturally in normal course of life. It is needed for digestion of food. When this when this HCl is generated in excess, we suffer from acidity. So any excess generation of acid more than from what is needed to digest food is when we are suffering with acidity. So what are the possible causes of acidity? When you consume too much food, or when you consume food which is having excess amount of fat, like deep fried food or fatty food, you suffer from acidity. Excess consumption of caffeine in terms of coffee, tea, alcohol, or even smoke can also give rise to acidity. Even some people are seen to keep prolonged gap between their meals. So staying on empty stomach for very long time can also trigger acidity. See, where our body is defined in such a manner that after every few hours, hydrochloric acid will naturally generate in our stomach. This is a system devised by nature. This acid is generated to work on the food which is supposed to be there in the stomach, to break down the food and digest it normally. If we keep long gap between our meals, so what happens, the acid is generating in the stomach, and in absence of the food, it will start corroding the mucosal line of the stomach. And if this is a day in and out process, you will start seeing some ulcer formation in your stomach. This acid also gives rise to formation of gases, and that is when you start feeling bloated and heaviness also. This is what acidity. And if this condition of keeping your stomach empty for long time through long period of through long tenure, you may suffer ulceration also. There are certain natural stages of life where a person may feel acidic. These are stages of pregnancy. A woman may face bouts of acidity. Obesity is another condition where an obese person always feels acidic, heavy, and gasiness. And old age. Old age, when we grow in age, when we become old, our natural peristaltic movement, our gut movement slows down. So that results in slow emptying of our stomach. So more time is taken for the food to digest as compared to when we are young. So that also naturally gives rise to more acidity. And the topmost reason for youngsters to have acidity is consumption of too much of junk food and following an overall unhealthy diet. So how would you understand whether you are acidic or not? There are very common symptoms of acidity I have listed here in this slide. Headache, frequent headache, heartburn, a sensation of burning sensation in heart, mouth ulcers, ulceration in mouth can also be sign of acidity, indigestion of food, constipation, poor appetite, not feeling of hungry for long hours. That can also be a sign of building up of gasiness or suffering with acidity. Because normal course of time, a normal person should feel hungry after 4 hours or 5 hours. If you don't feel hungry after 5 hours, something is definitely wrong in the system. We must address it. Even if you're eating regular meal and if you're suffering with acidity, your body may face easy fatigue or frequent fatigue. Why? Because when your body is hyperacidic, even though you are eating meals, your nutrients may not be absorbed better by your body, and resulting in low energy levels and fatigue in your body. Burning sensation in upper part of stomach, nausea, having bitter taste in mouth, muscle cramping, or GERD, which we call gastroesophageal acid reflux. If you can see this picture, acid is generated in the stomach, and there is a fine line, a fine muscular sphincter is there, which allows food from the mouth to come down to stomach. Because of excess acid generation, this sphincter opens on the reverse direction, allowing the acid to go up to the mouth. And if this becomes a continuous process, this can actually corrode the esophagus wall. The food pipe can get corroded, and also it can impact your dental health. This is when we called gastroesophageal acid reflux or GERD. Sometimes some respiratory problems also starts accompanying with this chronic acidity, wherein resulting the patient suffering with acidity, a frequent coughing tendency. So these are all the signs and symptoms of having acidity. Now, when we in general, a common man is suffering with acidity, what is the first line of treatment? We start popping in some antacid, some Gelusil, some Diagene, or some Eno, or some Coke or Thumbs Up we start drinking to get immediate relief. Now, we need to understand antacids works quickly by neutralizing our stomach acid. Now, these antacids either contain aluminum, magnesium, or calcium. Antacids which contain aluminum or calcium can actually cause constipation in long run. Frequent use of magnesium containing antacid may give you diarrhea. And the sodas which some people are used to of, or having Eno regularly, or having some carbonated drink to just get relief of that uneasiness. These sodas all contain sodium bicarbonate, which can be absorbed into your blood circulation. It may cause sodium overload in some people, giving rise to hypertension, kidney or liver problem also. So better be careful. Antacid is not a solution. Try to cure the problem from the root. Unless the root cause is removed, you will keep suffering from these problems day in and out. So how can we prevent from acidity? By eating healthy food, changing your eating pattern. Like how? Most of the time it is seen those who are suffering with acidity or some sort of gassiness or bloating issues, they are seen to be fast eater. Ensure that you are giving 15 to 20 minutes time to your main meals. Sit in peace and eat slowly and chew thoroughly each bite, and eat till you think you are 80-85% full, not 100% full. And remember, this is your meal time. No TV, no mobile, no other digital gadgets, no other distraction. Ensure that your 100% focus and attention is towards meal only. Avoid sleeping with full stomach, which means once after having your main meal, at least maintain a gap of 2.5 hours between your bedtime and your meal time, so that you are not feeling a heavy stomach while you are lying on the bed. Increase your water intake if you feel you are suffering with any of the symptoms of acidity. Reduce alcohol. Quit smoking. If quitting is not possible at a go, try to reduce the number of sticks. This helps. Avoid or reduce tea and coffee intake gradually, and gradually switch off yourself from any tea or coffee. Change your sleeping posture. If you are a person who is used to sleeping directly straight, take turn and elevate your head so that the reflux will not come into your mouth. It will go down. And the last but not least is do regular exercise. Yes, doing regular exercise has shown improved gut movement, improvement in acidity symptoms. There are certain food I am sharing here which can help you to prevent acidity. Food, general food which could be a trigger towards acidity are chickpeas or the white chana, kidney beans or commonly known as rajma. Avoid eating any raw or uncooked vegetables, which also includes uncooked salad, which means raw salad. Please avoid eating raw salads for those who are facing acidity. Sometimes people just surprised that why salads are healthy. These are no doubt healthy food, but not meant for everybody. If you are suffering from acidity, please avoid any uncooked food. Avoid or minimize garlic and ginger intake. Reduce or avoid, better to avoid carbonated drinks. Avoid refined flour. Avoid sugar and sweets. Avoid tea and coffee. This will definitely help you in reducing your acidity symptoms. Some food groups I would like to recommend for general healthy eating and overall good health. From the grains group, I will suggest all the millets, rice, wheat, quinoa, all whole grains are welcome. Remember, your plate should look like a 9-inch diameter plate. If I divide into 4 quarters, 1 quarter should contain your grains, and these grains should be whole grains, not unhealthy ones, not the processed one. So 1 quarter from grains, the next quarter should be from protein. If you are a non-vegetarian, add lean meat, poultry or fish. If you are a vegetarian, it can be milk or milk products, legumes, beans, pulses, almonds or some nuts, healthy nuts. These could be the good sources of protein. You can add 1 quarter with grain, 1 quarter with protein, and the remaining half of the plate should occupy fruits and vegetables. Eat plenty of vegetables and fruits, and try to add as many colorful fruits and vegetables in your daily diet possible. Why? Because more the colorful vegetables and fruits, which signifies different sets of antioxidants, different groups of minerals, different groups of vitamins. More the merrier. Try to have at least 5 servings of fruits and vegetables together in a day. One serving of fruit is like a size of a tennis ball, like a medium size of an apple or a medium guava or a medium banana. So having 2 fruits in a day is not a big deal, and you can easily have 2 to 3 katoris of vegetable in a day. So 3 katoris vegetable and 2 fruits in a day together can make 5 servings of fruits and vegetables in a day. From dairy or milk, try to have low fat or skimmed milk, buttermilk or cottage cheese, which is paneer, or low fat cheese, or curd or yogurt. Homemade yogurt is also very good, provided it is made with low fat milk. For those who are non-vegetarians, try to go for skinless poultry, fish, dried, and other. For vegetarians, it could be all sorts of pulses, beans, nuts, seeds, soybean, tofu, egg whites, lean meat for the non-vegetarians. So these are the protein group. And for the healthy fats and oil, limit your fat portion. For Indian type of cooking, try to use oil which are having high smoke point. Oils like rice bran oil, groundnut oil, mustard oil are well tolerated towards heat. Coconut oil is also very healthy. I keep often listening that coconut oil is healthy, is cooking food in coconut oil is recommended. I would suggest not all food should be cooked in coconut oil. Remember, coconut oil is a healthy oil to cook, but it is a great source of saturated fatty acid. And remember, our body does not need too much of saturated fatty acid, because our body generally produces saturated fatty acid. We don't need too much from outside. So try cooking with mix and match mediums, like sometimes some food with coconut oil, rest with other oils which I have mentioned, if it is an Indian type of cooking. Unsaturated oils are also excellent source, heart healthy source, like olive oil, sesame seed oil. These are good sources, or avocado oil, provided we are not using for Indian type of cooking, which involves high heat or high smoke point. So ensure these oils are used only for salad drizzling, salad sauteing or mixing, salad dressing, or soup drizzling. We should not be heating this oil, because this will become rancid. This breaks down easily. Now, foods which I don't recommend. Remember, I have suggested the grains, the same whole grains. If we are making pastries, cakes, donuts, biscuits or croissants, or chips or cheese puffs or butter popcorn, please avoid. Healthier form is acceptable. Unhealthy form of same grains is not recommended. Sometimes some people ask me, Minu, I eat a lot of vegetables. On grilling, I come to know those vegetables were prepared in cream sauce or they were deep fried. Then no point of eating those vegetables. Please avoid those cheesy, buttery, creamy vegetables. Even with the fruits, avoid eating them with butter or cream, or avoid cooking those fruits totally. Milk, try to avoid full cream or full fat. Try to have the low fat or the toned milk, which is available easily. Try to have the fresh yogurt with the low fat milk. Those who are non-vegetarian, try to choose lean meats over the high fat cuts. For fats and oils, avoid margarines, avoid hydrogenated vanaspatis, or the tropical oils too much, like coconut or palm oil. Please limit these utilization in our daily cooking. Butter also please use in moderation. Remember, moderation is the key. And one more slide I'm sharing here for you to understand. Most of the time we buy from outside this packed food, either it is Tetra Pak or the chips packet or the food which are packed in dabbas or packets. Don't forget to read the nutrition fact. The label which says this green one, see green and bluish color, total fat contain, saturated fat contain, or trans fat, or cholesterol or sodium. Please limit these nutrients to the orange value written here. See, if it says total fat content is this much, please try to choose something which has lower value. Cholesterol, ideally, if it is 0, is better tolerated. Sodium, as low as possible, you can buy. These days, some misleading informations are also given. They don't write the numbers or values. They just give the percentage value. So for you, this slide has been shared. You can click a picture and save it for your future references. try to choose, try to check their word. Like here you can see sugar is directly written, but these days this marketing agencies has become very smart. They don't write sugar directly, some words ending with ol. So these are some form of sugar alcohols. So to just mislead the buyer, you know, we as a novice person, as a buyer, you go, you don't understand, you buy. Try to check the buzz and check the serving size. One serving size should not be having more than 2 grams of sugars in any form. If it is more than, one serving is more than 2 grams, which means it is a high sugary food. So these are certain things which we need to be aware of as a quick handy guide. After this food selection, food topic, I would like to focus a little bit on exercise here for every one of us to know. Importance of exercise, as I have said in the beginning of my presentation, if we eat every day, we sleep every day, we must learn to exercise every day. Choose the form of exercise you like to do, whether it is yoga, Pilates, Zumba, or it is a PT training, or just a cardio of your own, a brisk walk, running, jogging, swimming, cycling, whichever form works good with you. Ensure that you are doing along with that. Choose the pattern of form of exercise suits you, your daily routine. Just do it. I have shared some few here, but remember, choose your own and do it on a regular basis. Minimum of 6 days a week is a must. Don't underestimate the power of stress, the negative power of stress. Yes, when we are stressed, stress can deplete the production of prostaglandins. Prostaglandins are the ones which helps protecting our stomach mucosal layer from the effect of acids. If too much of stress, you will start seeing building up of your acid flare also. Why? Because it directly relates to the production of prostaglandins, which are the protection layer for the stomach. Stress with exertion may lead to increase of acid reflux. So we cannot run away from stress, but we definitely need to do something to minimize, to manage our stress levels. Do yoga, do meditation, do deep breathing. Some people feels good when they listen to music. Some people feels good when they read some book. Do the activity whichever makes you feel happy and less stressed. Just don't ignore it. And the last but not least is the power of sleep. Good quality sound sleep helps in reducing stress and also improves our body's healing power. Sound sleep helps us building antibodies and fighting cells which fights against infection. So it helps in building our body's immunity too. Sleeping at an incline decreases reflux symptoms. When we are sleeping and lifted our head little up, it will not allow the acid reflux to go up in our mouth, because it will incline, our body is inclined, so the reflux will go down. So we can sleep with peace. So sleep is very, very important. Try not to underestimate the power. I would again focus here. Try to set timing of your sleep, set timing for your meal and exercise. Our body responds to the set timings, you know. If I am supposed to eat meal at 2 p.m., or my body clock will set for 2 p.m. and my body will generate digestive juices at 2 p.m. And if I don't provide my body food at 2 p.m., that digestive juices will start acting on the mucosal layer of the stomach. And instead of 2 p.m., if I provide myself food at 4 p.m., not enough digestive juices will be available to work on the food to break down it properly. So setting times and following this timely schedule is very important to maintain a healthy body. Thank you so much. With this, I will close sharing of my slide presentation, and I'm ready to take all your questions. These are my details. Feel free to reach out to me, like or follow my Facebook page and LinkedIn page of Meenu Agarwal, and absolutely feel free to put all your questions across if you have any further question after today's session. Thank you so much, Bharat. I'm just stopping the slide sharing, and you can just ask question if you have any.
That was really wonderful, ma'am. You have covered all aspects that we are lagging. Participants, if you have any queries, please feel free to use the chat box or can unmute and ask your questions directly.
Can you suggest some foods for hair fall?
Hair fall.
Yes.
Okay. Hair fall could be because of various reasons. First and foremost reason is low protein diet. You need to check your diet, whether your protein intake is good or not. Second, females often see hair fall within the period of periodic range, which is from 10 years to 45 years. So because of this periodic heavy menstrual issues or iron deficiencies are seen to be normal. So if you need to see, check your ferritin level. Ferritin is your stored iron level. If it is low, then also you may be prone to hair fall. Also, your thyroid level should be checked, that if you are suffering with thyroid disorder, then also your body may be prone to having hair fall. So these are the major three conditions: protein balance, iron intake, and thyroid disorder. If thyroid is okay, then you need to check your iron balance and protein. Try to increase protein in your diet and try to eat more iron rich food. You will start seeing a difference in your hair quality. And on top, try to wash it on a regular manner. Don't let it be dirty or let the dust be accumulated on that. Wash every alternate day so that your scalp is fresh and clean. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, there is a question in the chat
Okay,
box.
1 minute. Do you want me to also explain what are the food rich in iron, or you know that? Protein, I have explained that vegetarian, non-vegetarian sources. So iron, okay, let me also tell, all leafy vegetables are rich sources of iron. All beans, pulses, and dals are good sources of iron. Red meat is for iron. Chicken also can give you iron. Dry fig, dry apricot, peanuts, almonds, jaggery, these are all good sources of iron. Ensure, one more pointer, okay, let me just explain this too, since there are many girls here, you need to understand this. When you have your main meals like lunch or dinner, wherein you have dal, sambar, or any type of pulses, and you are also prone to having curd in your diet, ensure that you have your curd 30 minutes after your main meal. Do not club with your dal and rice and sabjis. Because especially for vegetarians, we target our iron from all the beans, dals, pulses, and the green vegetables. Now, the moment you club yogurt or curd along with this food, curd is a rich source of calcium. In presence of calcium, iron from this food will not get absorbed. So ensure you maintain a gap of 30 minutes between pulses and vegetables and consumption of dairy, which is yogurt. That way, you can help your body to absorb iron well, and later after 30 minutes, you can get benefit of calcium and protein also. And also add some bit of fresh lime juice to to the vegetables and dals or sambars, whichever pulses you have prepared. This lime juice is a good source of vitamin C. It will help better absorption of iron from those dal and pulses.
Ma'am, there is a question in the chat box. Is intake of egg bad?
Not at all. In fact, egg is the best biological value protein. It is a well-balanced protein. Egg is absolutely not bad. In fact, it is the best biological value, which means all the protein inside the egg is better absorbed by the body. Nothing goes waste.
And ma'am, I have a query. People who are having acidity, or people they are avoiding citrus fruits. Is that right or not?
See, sometimes it is a temporary solution. Some people feel that we are acidic. The moment I drink some citrus juice, it triggers my acidity. But avoiding acidic or citrus fruit is not a solution. We need to address acidity from the root cause. We are not born with acidity. It is our lifestyle which has gradually developed our body into acidic. So we need to address what we are doing wrong in our day-to-day life and try to correct it from the grassroots, and gradually you will see that your body is well tolerant to all foods. Most of the food, at least.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Participants.
There is a question in the chat box to me personally. Brown rice, is it healthy? Heard that it has some side effects. A low-fat, protein-rich food, ma'am. Okay, there are two questions clubbed together. First question was, is brown rice healthy? Yes, it is healthy. Some heard that it has some side effect. Okay, it's not about side effect. That's a wrong thing to call it as a side effect. Now we need to understand what is brown rice. Brown rice is the normal rice with a layer, the fine layer of husk on top of it. The bran layer is there. So we need to understand most of the nutrients of rice are usually available just underneath of the bran, the husk of the rice. And in brown rice, we don't remove the full layer. The fine layer is still there. That's the reason the grain looks brown. So nutrients are there as compared to a white rice. Nutrient composition is more in brown rice. But the problem is absorption of nutrients from brown rice is also difficult as compared to absorption of nutrients from white rice. If you ask me which is healthy, I would say in terms of diabetes, brown rice is good because the glycemic index is low. Wherein glycemic index of white rice is high as compared to brown rice, it is less healthier as compared to brown rice. But not for a normal person. A normal person, a healthy person who's not suffering with diabetes, you can choose white rice or brown rice. And if the white rice is parboiled, it is better because parboiling is a process. During this parboiling process, the nutrients of the husk, I mean the coating of the outer layer, it goes deep inside the kernel of the rice, making the rice grain very highly nutritious rice. So if you really like to enjoy a white rice, you can. Don't worry about that brown rice is not good or white rice is good. Both are equally good. Brown rice is more nutritious compared to white, but absorption of the nutrients is lesser as compared to white rice. So in terms of nutrients also almost equal, provided you are not diabetic. For those who are suffering with diabetes, I would suggest have brown rice better than white. There was another question being asked, a low fat protein rich food. See, protein sources I have already discussed in the slide today. For non-vegetarians, lean meat, poultry, fish are the sources. For vegetarians, low fat dairy, which is toned or double toned milk, paneer made out of that milk, or yogurt made out of that milk, or buttermilk made out of that milk is a low fat dairy options. And apart from that, all dals, lentils, beans are good sources. So mix and match. Ensure that your plate, which I have suggested a 9-inch diameter plate, a quarter of the plate should allow you a full quarter of protein rich food in all your meals, whether it is breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You must ensure that 1/4 of the plate is with protein rich food. Any more questions you have? Can you see something?
Yes, ma'am. There are a couple of questions in the chat box. Can we prefer brown sugar or jaggery over white sugar?
To be honest, avoid all sorts of sugar, whether it is brown, red, white, coconut, palm, all sugars are sugar, including jaggery. Please avoid. Your body need no sugar sources. If you really crave for sugar, have some few raisins or one dry fig or apricot. Natural sources, don't eat this. Please avoid all form of sugar.
And then food that can cure migraine or to support during migraine. It has been asked.
See, migraine is a condition which nobody knows what the triggers are. Some get triggered by caffeine, some get relieved by caffeine intake. Usually it is seen that keeping long gaps between your meal may be a bigger trigger for migraine attack. Sometimes exposure to sunlight could be a possibility. Sometimes drinking less water is a possibility. So you need to figure out what are the culprits for your migraine attack and act accordingly. Usually those who are suffering with severe acidity, they are more prone to have migraine attack. So try to reach out to your root cause of acidity and try to work from the root. Avoid long food gaps, avoid eating any raw food, eat easy digestible food, like avoid chanas and rajmas, which are hard to digest, and especially during night, please avoid the sprouts or chanas and rajmas. Eat well cooked food only during night. Keep the dinner light. Avoid eating meals just before your bedtime. So ensure that you are maintaining at least 2 to 2.5 hours between your meal and bedtime. These things will help you to avoid acidity and further avoiding migraine attack.
That's another question. Is there any food practice to be followed during menstruation or periods?
Yeah, menstruation or periods time is the time when you females often see a lot of blood losses, which also gives rise to low iron condition. So your food should be little high on iron, and if needed, you can also supplement yourself for iron supplement. And some females also go through a lot of stomach cramps, back cramps. So supplement yourself with B6 vitamin, which is pyridoxine. So ideally, I would suggest 10 to 15 days, like a week before your menstrual date till your menstrual time, please supplement yourself with a B complex vitamin, which contains B6. This will help relieving from your cramps. And ensure your diet is rich in iron, and ensure protein is adequate in your meals so that you feel good. You should not be going through the fatigue or painful episodes then.
Ma'am, there are a question. Energy supplement powders like Horlicks or something, are they good or healthy like that?
If you ask me honestly, no. Have you ever read the nutrition level, how much sugar they contain? We really don't need it. Balance your food nicely. We don't need this health drink at all.
And there is another question. Can insomnia result from any food practice? If so, what can we do to change the food practice?
You need to identify which food is the trigger for your insomnia. After eating which food your body feels uncomfortable. Sometimes caffeine intake at night can result into insomnia. So avoid having tea or coffee after say 5 p.m. Or sometimes sodas or colas or carbonated drink also can result high sugar spike and resulting sleeplessness. So avoid these drinks also, which may result insomnia. And insomnia is not only with food. These days, the insomnia is triggering because of late excessive exposure to digital screen. We don't feel sleepy. We turn on to the mobile and we are on the screen. We watch TV, which further delays our sleep cycle. So this is a vicious cycle. We create our own. So try to stop exposing ourselves to this digital screen. If it is 11 p.m. I need to sleep, at least by 10, I should be keeping my digital screen away from myself. So that your brain needs some time to relax. What happens, you are on the bed, you are trying to sleep, but your subconscious brain is always awake. We need to relax our brain muscles. So insomnia, bigger problem is the digital exposure. So try to set certain rules for yourself and put those discipline and try to follow those rules. You will start seeing benefit.
Ma'am, there is one last question. Are cornflakes a better option for breakfast?
Not really. Cornflakes are very, very simplified sugar form. If you ask me, oats are better than cornflakes. Instead of cornflakes, cook oats, add milk, and then eat. These are very healthy option. In fact, why only oats? There are so many millets varieties available. Why not making millet porridge and eat? Those are healthier options, but definitely not cornflakes. These are not great. Cornflakes is not a great option as for breakfast. You can have chapati with roti with sabji. You can have poha, upma made out of the whole grains, but not cornflakes.
And is black tea healthy?
Which one? Sorry?
Is black tea healthy? It is asked by Vaishnavi. Is black tea healthy?
Black tea is fine. Any herbal tea is good. No harm as long as it is not obstructing, hindering your health. It is fine. You can continue. Any herbal tea, 1 to 2 cup total in a day is fine. Do not over exceed the consumption. That's not healthy. I can see one more question here in my personal chat. Anemic patient should have to overcome. What anemic patient should have to overcome? Say anemia is a result where your iron levels are low, your hemoglobin is going low, your red blood cell count goes down. So definitely you need to increase protein count, you need to increase iron content of your food. Plus folic acid has to go up. So iron, folate both need to be up. Plus B12 need to be up. So those who are vegetarian, they must supplement themselves from B12 supplements. Those who are non-vegetarian, be regular with your diet of non-vegetarian diet so that at least B12 is regularly supplied to your body. For iron, I have already shared the iron-rich food sources. Please ensure that your diet is well balanced and comprise a good amount of iron-rich food in a daily diet to overcome iron deficiency. Ensure that you're not clubbing any calcium-rich food along with iron to avoid wastage of iron from your food. So if you can follow these advices, your anemia can be well addressed and you can be recovered from it soon. Non-vegetarian protein, see, it's not about non-vegetarian protein during menstruation. It's about protein, any form of protein. It should be, your diet should be having enough amount of protein, enough portion of protein. As I said, if it is a 9-inch diameter plate, if it is your plate, 1/4 should be full of protein. It can be vegetarian protein or non-vegetarian protein, hardly matters.
Thank you, ma'am. For further doubts, please, we will be forwarding to ma'am. You can ask us or can direct to comment. So, moving on to the next part of the agenda.
Anytime, feel free to reach out to me for any questions you have.
Okay, sure, ma'am. So, moving on to the next part of the agenda, I would request the trainer of today's session, Meenu Agarwal, to hand back the proceedings to our president, Dr. Bharat. Ma'am, just you have to say that you are handing back the proceedings to Dr. Bharat.
I'm handing back the proceedings to the president. Who's the president? Bharat. Okay. To the president.
Thank
Bharat.
you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And we have a small surprise for you. And it is, we call as token of love to show our gratitude. We will be presenting it on the screen, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's pretty. Thank you. Thank you so much. Stay safe and stay well. Any questions?
Yes,
Feel free to reach out to me. I am easily approachable and available. You can follow me, put up your questions or queries over my LinkedIn page of Meenu Agarwal. Also, I am available on Facebook with the name Meenu Agarwal. It's M-E-E-N-U, Meenu Agarwal, A-G-A-R-W-A-L. Now you know me by face, so if you see my face, you can understand. Yes. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, it is made by food grains.
Yeah, I can see that. That's the reason I said it is wonderful. Like different.
Yeah,
Did you color this? This N looks like H and N is like they look like with a rice, some sort of colorful rice. Are these the colored rice or what?
No colored rice.
Actually,
It's not, right? N looks like a colored rice. Rice. It looks like rice, but it is a colored rice.
Combination of pulse and rice, ma'am.
Is it? Okay. No, it's beautiful. No, it's really nice.
Okay.
Thank you so much for choosing this picture and making out a wonderful effect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I now request Dr. Anbu Karasi to present the vote of thanks.
So, no duty is urgent than that of returning thanks. So, it is my immense pleasure to propose vote of thanks on behalf of Rotary Club of GCT Coimbatore. So, I wish to express my sincere gratefulness to our Meenu Agarwal for giving an excellent coverage on nutrition. And also, I would like to acknowledge my healthy gratitude for all the participants. So, thank you so much, ma'am. I really thank you for this.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care, all of you. We'll take my leave now. Okay.
Just a minute, ma'am. We have a last protocol to do. So
Okay.
I request President Dr. Bharat to call the meeting adjourned.
The individual development program, Nutty for Nutrition, is now adjourned. The participants are free to leave the meeting. Thank you all. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Good night. Stay safe.
Good night.
Thank you so much, ma'am.